Welcome back to Dash Explorer. I'm Sarah and I am so excited because today I'm here to do an updated 2024, although I know it's 2025 now, the trip we took was last year, updated 2024 baby gear video. So if you've been following along for a while, back in 2023, we took our girls, Haley and Delaney, at the time, age 11 months and almost 4, like 3 years, 10 months, something like that. And we took them to Paris and Germany and had this whole European adventure. There were planes, there were trains, there were cars, all the things. And last year in the beginning of 2024, I made a video about all the baby gear that we took. And by baby gear, I really mean like the big stuff, the stuff that you really need to kind of plan ahead and figure out, do we need it? All the things. And so if you have not seen that yet, I will make sure to link that above because it was exactly the kind of video I was looking for before we went on our trip. Especially with Delaney being under a year at the time, there is so much baby gear that you need. And when you're used to being at home and you just have all the stuff that you could possibly need right around your house, when you leave that home environment, it can feel really stressful to figure out, what do I need to bring with me on this trip? This year, we went on another trip. We went to London, and at the time, Delaney was just short of 2 years old, and Haley, again, just short of 5. So our kids were in a whole new age group, and the beauty with the whole new age group is that you need less stuff. But we still did bring a lot of things, so I wanted to update that video I made last year, share the things that we brought, the things that we used, the things that we didn't need, all the things in case you are planning a trip with your family for this year. All right, before we jump into the good stuff, I am editing today's video and I just want to hop on and say that we are not sponsored by any of these items. We were not gifted any of these things. We bought everything with our own money. We did our own research. I just wanted to share what we used in case you are feeling the way I felt a couple of years ago when we started on our first international travels with our kids. And everything that we have used is linked down in the description below, and nothing is affiliate links. It's all just what we used, and hopefully it's helpful or a good starting place for you. And if you have any other questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below as you go along, because I'm happy to answer and do anything I can to help you feel prepared for your trip. So we will start with the most useful things because that's probably what you're here for. And number one, I think probably last year and this year, is the stroller. So before we went on our trip last year, we bought a Baby Jogger City Tour stroller, and it is the MVP. I'm sure that there are a lot of other travel strollers out there, and you do your research, you figure out what's best for you, but definitely look into purchasing a compact travel stroller if you are especially flying internationally, but even just flying in general. If you're gonna fly a lot, having an easy to pack down stroller, it is a game changer. It is super lightweight. I honestly kind of started to use this as my daily driver stroller at home too, so it was super worth the purchase for us. And when you are going to travel and explore a city, you gotta have a stroller if your kids are under a certain age. So we bought this stroller. It folds down into a carrying bag, so we are able to actually carry it onto the plane with us as part of our carry-ons, and it fits in the overhead bins on trains. It is so fantastic. So we use the stroller. Both Haley and Delaney still fit in it. Haley is getting on the bigger side of it. She is a very tall 5-year-old, but it is just a wonderful stroller. It moves really smoothly, and it definitely doesn't glide as well as our day-to-day city mini stroller that we use, but this one has been perfect for our traveling adventures. And then the runner-up best thing that we brought on our international travel with our small kids is the glider board. So if you have 2 kids and you have one that's really small and like pretty much needs to be in the stroller, an excellent alternative is a glider board. They attach right onto the back of your stroller, and your older child can stand and be pushed, so you don't need to get a double stroller. You don't have to make your older child, who can still be pretty small, walk all over the city. Like when we were in Paris, we were walking 10 miles a day. I don't even know how many we walked in London, but we were walking all over the place. So having the glider board is a huge, huge, huge bonus. Although I will say there were a lot of times where Haley was like, I'm tired, I want to sit down, which I totally respect. We were all over that city. And so not having the second place to sit is kind of tough, especially for those older kids. But we were never really like in transit for more than like 15, 20 minutes at a time. So it's not a huge deal, but just something to keep in mind as you go into your trip. So number 1, number 2 spot is a compact travel stroller and a glider board if you have more than one kid. The next baby toddler item that we took on this trip was a baby carrier. So I did bring it for Delaney. She was like 23 and a half months when we went on this trip, and it was not something that I used as much as that I used it the year before. I mean, it was like second MVP when we went to France and Germany a year ago. But with a 2-year-old, she is a lot larger. But there were times, like I said, when Haley would want to sit down in the stroller, and I respect that. We were crazy. So to be able to give her a chance to sit, like when we went to the Christmas markets this year, I would put Delaney in the carrier and I probably should have used it more in like the backpack setting, but we did use it. And I also really like having the baby carrier for boarding and deboarding planes, like to not have to hold her hand because she's still pretty small, and to be able to help carry all the stuff and be able to hold Haley's hand, wear Delaney, have my backpack, any other things I need to have hands on. I just personally really like wearing the baby carrier, but I am very glad that we brought it. I did use it enough to where I think that, you know, it would be worth it for you to consider if you have like a 2, maybe a little over 2, a little under 2-year-old, because like I said, for the planes, for the markets, to give your other older child a chance to sit, I found it a very helpful tool to have. All right, our next baby toddler item that we brought on this trip was our Slumberpod. We were very fortunate this time that we were in an apartment that had 3 bedrooms, and we were there with my cousin and her son. So my cousin, she had her own room, and her son ended up sleeping on the couch so he could stay up and watch TV. And then Andrew and I had our own room, and we were able to put both of the girls in one room. This is not something that they are super used to, so by having the Slumberpod, it kind of gives them a little bit of separation, so they kind of feel like they're in their own space. They can't see each other, they can still hear each other, but I think just like visually it kind of helps them divide themselves from each other. And just for the darkness, like it helped Delaney sleep, you know, jet lag, all that craziness, being able to navigate that. We were super glad we had the Slumberpod. I don't think that a Slumberpod is necessarily a like huge necessity if it's not something that you already have, but it is something that we use pretty regularly, whether it is when we go on our family beach trips or just weekend trips. Like it's something that is a regular part of their lives. And if it's something that you think will help your kid, we really love them. We are not sponsored. And on the note of sleep, I have already mentioned that we had Delaney in a pack and play, but no, we did not bring ours. So when we travel using Airbnb. And the best part about that is that you can search for apartments that have a travel cot or a pack and play, whatever terminology they use for it. And I communicate with our host as soon as we book the place and say, we are traveling with our child. She is X years old. We need a sleep system for her. Can you confirm with me that you have that? And then again, once our trip is coming up and we're a couple days out from the trip, I confirm again and say, I just want to confirm that there will be a pack and play and it will be available to us. A lot of hotels also offer pack and play, so make sure that if that's something that you're looking into, check that your hotel offers them. Make sure that you call, because it's not something I do enough, and you need to call and confirm these kinds of things, because then that's just one giant thing that you can take off of your packing list. And one more thing to note on the pack and plays, whether you are getting one from your Airbnb or your hotel or you're bringing your own, make sure you bring a pack and play sheet. This is something I've forgotten on both of our trips. So we had to use like a blanket to wrap around the mattress that comes with it. So just, I don't know, learn from my mistakes. Bring a pack and play sheet too. I've talked a lot about sleep, but one more thing I will say about sleep is that if you watched our video last year about how we brought an inflatable toddler bed with us, that was something that we did not need to bring with us on this trip. Again, we were fortunate that Haley had her own room, so she had her own bed, and that was just a whole section of suitcase that we got back. But if you want to learn more about the inflatable toddler bed, it is a super great option. We used it when we went to Paris in Germany, and it was a huge help for us to have a place for her to sleep. So if that is something you are interested in, make sure you click the link. I think it should be up there, or I'll have it listed down in the description below of my video from last year, so you can learn all about the inflatable toddler bed. We love it, but it does take a lot of space. All right, and then my final big giant baby gear item that we brought on this trip that was actually a giant regret was a car seat. So we ran into the exact same problem that we ran into last year of we were not able to actually book a ticket for Delaney. We wanted to pay however much money we paid for our ticket, we wanted to pay for her to have her own seat, because she's almost 2 years old, and she's also just like not used to having to be confined in an airplane for 8 hours. Like that's not natural for small children. So unfortunately, again, it is my fault because I did not do this last year either. I called, I think like 10 to 14 days ahead of our trip and tried to purchase the seat. I was told that it would be over double the amount that we paid for our seats for our ticket, even though I was originally told that it wouldn't be that much, it would be the same as ours. It was a whole back and forth with customer service, which I'm sure you can imagine was lovely. Anyways, I digress. So we were told, show up at the gate. If there are extra seats, you can reserve a seat for your child and that will be fine. And at the time I called, they said there was tons of open seats, and I was like, cool, perfect. Like this will be great. So we brought our car seat for her to use on the airplane. We know that our car seat is FAA approved. If you don't know what that means, make sure you find the sticker on your car seat, and it should have like an airplane on it and tell you that it is FAA approved. You need to know where that is if you're carrying it on the plane. We show up at our gate and our flight is completely full, and all 4 of our flights, 2 there, 2 back, completely booked. So she sat in our laps for all of our flights. Luckily, checking car seats is free with your infant, so we just checked it under the plane. I did not have a bag for it. I just was like, here you go. That being said, we do have a very cheap travel car seat. It is very lightweight. It did not cost very much money. It is not something even like size-wise Delaney is gonna fit in for very much longer. So if it had gotten lost, like it's not our daily car seat. This one is much lighter and not as bulky as the one we have at home. You can see all the details about that in our video from last year, but we did bring it. We checked it all the way through to London. We used public transportation to get from the airport to our Airbnb. We used public transportation to get all around the city, and then public transportation to get back to the airport, and we used it not one time. So that felt like a huge waste of space for us. It was, something big and bulky that we had to kind of fumble with. Fortunately, for this trip, we flew to London, went to our Airbnb, stayed there for 4 days, went back to the airport and flew home. There was not a lot of moving parts. Unlike last year's trip where we went all over Europe. We went to 4 different destinations. We had to take our car seat all through the city, but we used it driving around in Germany. We used it in the cab services in Paris. We used it on the plane. So it was very worth it for us last year. So you know what your trip is going to look like. Maybe you've already purchased a seat for your child or called and reserved a spot on the airline, unlike me, or maybe they are super, super little and you know that it's something you're gonna need and you're gonna be in cars a lot, whatever your situation is. But given our experience, this is our baby gear video. We brought it and we did not need it. So lesson learned. So I think that about sums it up for this year's baby gear video for international travel. This is all of the things that we did bring and did not bring for this year's trip with our girls. Again, Haley was almost 5 years old at the time and Delaney was almost 2. So they were a little bit bigger this year, but these are the big pieces that we felt like we wanted to share about. And I also have some other smaller baby gear things that we brought along with us. So if you think that that's something that you'd be interested in hearing more about, please leave a comment in the description below and maybe I will make a video in the next couple of weeks about all of the monitor, sound machines, like all of that kind of baby stuff that we also packed for our trip. So if that's something you're interested in, leave us a comment. And if you liked this video or you learned something, make sure that you give us a like. And if you have any other thoughts or comments about, the baby gear we used or what we should use next time, please leave us a comment below. And if you want to follow along for more of our family travel tips or family travel adventures, we have some exciting stuff planned for this year. Please make sure you hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you can get notified when we post new videos. And you can also pop over to Instagram and follow us at Explorer. I'm hoping to share a lot more educational reels, fun reels, exciting things this year. So make sure you give us a follow. And with that, we will see you next time.